Rockaway Borough Board of Education has provided adequate notice of this meeting to the public by having the time, date, and location advertised in the Citizen newspaper, posted on our website and at Town Hall. Official action will be taken. Board member roll call, please.
Mr. Doherty.
Here.
Ms. Dorgillis.
Here.
Ms. Dahl.
Here.
Ms. Hernandez.
Here.
Mr. Kraft.
Here. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do not believe we have any student reps tonight, so we will skip past that and go right to Dr. Greco's reports.
Welcome, everybody. A few more days of school. We moved the meeting from next week to this week. I think there was just some stuff we wanted to get on the agenda a little bit earlier. I have a recommendation for a new principal for Lincoln School on the agenda today, so that was one of the reasons, but there was other reasons as well. Some of our goals and things of that nature. So thank you for moving the meeting. Hopefully everybody got that notice. I tried to get it out as much as I could. Tonight, Mr. Sandals is here. He's going to be doing a report for us, a little bit of an update on Thomas Jefferson. We're going to follow up at one of our meetings in the future, either the end of the summer or September. I think we haven't decided, for Ms. Argenziano to talk a little bit more about curriculum and instruction and some of the programs that we use. Our agenda's not the heaviest for a June agenda, but we'll have some more stuff on in the summer. And at this point, I will turn it over to Mr. Samuels for a little update on Thomas Jefferson. Thank you.
How are we doing, everybody? All right, thank you for having me. In school terms, we are right at the end. We are almost there. We are almost to summer. Another 3 days. We have graduation coming up on Wednesday night. That's at Morris Hills in the auditorium. We keep it always in the auditorium there. Most of our students, as you know, go to Morris Hills. They do graduation outside. If they had to do it inside, they would do it in the gym. So this gives a different experience for our 8th grade graduates. And it's at 5 o'clock if anyone wants to attend. It's a really nice ceremony and a really nice way to mark the end of one journey here at TJ and moving on to the high school. So a little update for Thomas Jefferson. So what did we do this year that was new? So we did a few things that were new. We are looking at them. We've gotten great feedback so far. We will continue to monitor the changes. So we added one extra study hall per grade. So let's start with what that actually means. Our 4th graders get one 43-minute study hall every week. Our 5th graders get it once a week in the first half of the year and 2 times a week in the second. And our 6th through 8th graders get it 2 to 3 times a week by semester. And besides a breath of fresh air, 43 minutes for students to actually do some of their homework or sit with their teachers, because the study hall teachers, it's a duty, but they are with teachers who very often help and give a little extra support. And so students, you know, when they're running between different sports and plays and all the different activities they have, the feedback that I've gotten so far from teachers, from students, and from families that I see at games and all the other events that we have going on here has been very positive. Moreover, we actually use those study halls as the first priority to take all of our pull-outs for. So that means all of our band lessons, our PT, OT, speech, our gifted and talented, our art and music independent studies, all primarily come out of the study halls. And so that's nice for students because it means they're not missing something else. They don't have to feel like they're missing. They don't have to feel like they're being penalized or have to make up anything, or even if something is excused, it's just out of the study hall. And I will say that art and music independent studies, Mr. Bova did a great job with those. Mr. Strapp is taking the reins on that for music, and also for art. You know, Ms. Eisenberg is doing a great job. And it's an incredible offering for a school our size for students that have a passion for art or music to be able to do such a deep dive in a small group setting with a teacher and really learn about things that are incredibly interesting to them. So that is a little bit on the study halls. So in grade 6, and many of you might have heard this around, but we have had a perception within our community, within our schools, that we track students. And I totally understand why. Because in a small school where our graduating class this year is 55 students, you're not just journeying through the same pre-K through 8 with 55 students. Depending on where you are with your courses, you might be journeying through every day and every year with the same 8 to 12 students. Sometimes there are IEP mandates. If we have a pull-out resource section or something like that, we only run one. So yes, students will be together with the same small group of students, but they even used to go to the same special area classes, phys ed, Spanish, health, and technology, and so on. So we did a few things to combat this idea that we're always pigeonholing students into, I'm an honors kid, or I'm not, or some sort of self-identifying, very public identity in a small school. So not only did we mix up this is the first year we've mixed up every single special area grouping. So no matter where you are for math, English, science, social studies, we've mixed everyone up, whether you're in an LLD class or you might be the valedictorian of the class. And that has met with extremely positive feedback from our staff and from students. It's tough to be with the same exact student makeup of a class every day, every year. But we also decided that we would go with 3 on-grade level math and English sections in 6th grade. And we've always used multiple measures when we decide who goes into an honors class, plus level class. There's usually at least 5 metrics to that, including teacher observations, state test scores, benchmarking scores, grade averages. So we want to make sure that students are ready for it. But a lot of this data we're looking at is from when students are 11 years old. And it just, in our opinion, got to be looking like tracking, feeling like tracking, students identifying as that. And 11 is very young to start this process and this path to start tracking like that, which they'll have that opportunity as they get older and they get into high school as well. So we made that change, and I believe that those things have been met with positivity from all parties. But we will continue to monitor these things as we go forward because we want more than 1 year of data on it. For anybody that has been in my office, you know that I have a sign that says, is it best for kids? And that makes every decision really simple, even the really complex and hard ones, because at the end of the day, you're answering one question. Is it best for kids? And so that's why we take a look at our existing programming and we say, is it best? And we are open to looking at better ways to do things. So that's what we did this year. And there are 2 basic things that we are looking to do for next year. All right, so one of them is our ESL model change. Right now we use a resource ESL model, and we're moving to the high intensity model, but I also put a plus next to that high intensity model because it's even more intensive than just what the high intensity model by the state looks like. We are even more prepared to meet the needs of our ESL population, which has been a growing population over the years. This is the 4th year. Next year will be the 5th year where we've had 2 ESL teachers to meet the needs of our students. So what it looked like before, students would go to ELA, they'd go for 43 minutes, that's half of this double block period. They would get up and they would go and they would meet with the ESL teacher for another 43 minutes. And while that can work, it does have its drawbacks as well. So students that are really trying to acquire the language and don't have much English proficiency are sitting in that English class trying to access grade level content and curriculum when they are struggling with the foundations of English. It's also very choppy when a teacher plans for 86 minutes and students get up after 43 and leave for that foundational instruction that they get from ESL. So based on teacher feedback from many different teachers, based on what we saw from student data and how quickly they exit the ML program, we started to really look into a way to support these students better. And so we got a lot of feedback. We looked at our current scheduling to see how we can make it work. We met with an ESL consultant, and we were able to make 2 high-intensity double-blocked classes. So high-intensity means that you get pulled out for 2 periods a day. So instead of going to English, now they're going to ESL. Okay? And they're going to stay there with the ESL certified teacher, and they're going to get the foundational knowledge that they would get from ESL. So we're going to have a 4th and 5th grade class, periods 1 and 2. That's how the state standards band together. And then true middle school, grades 6 through 8, are going to meet periods 3 and 4. That also gives 2 other periods for that ESL teacher to push in where needed for other ESL students that might not have fit in their schedule for whatever reason, or help students where needed. So they're going to attend the 2 classes. What does that mean? What does an ESL class mean differently than your regular ELA class? You're working on the foundations of language acquisition. So we're talking about vocabulary, grammar, syntax, and really understanding the foundations of English. And these are things that in a regular on-grade level class have already been taught at the elementary school. And so while the teachers are now very equipped to help students, this double block of ESL, this high intensity, has shown in much research to have students exit the ML program more quickly and to just be more supported so that when they do leave that and they go to science, social studies, math, technology, and all of those classes, they can actually better understand what's going on. So I did put a plus next to it because this year we got every teacher in the district trained and certified in sheltered instruction, which means it's a course, 15-hour course, and what sheltered instruction basically means is that teachers are pre-teaching vocabulary that's going to come up in their units, that not only is there a daily learning objective, but there's a daily language objective. They're very intentionally teaching the ML students, the multilingual learners in their class. They're not just off to the side, it's a very intentional way of reaching this population of students. And so I can stand here today very proudly tell you that we are making every stride possible to offer both high intensity and when those students leave to have all of our teachers really equipped to help them by being trained in sheltered instruction. So very happy with the way that we're able to very comprehensively address these students. The other thing that we're doing is kind of akin to that 6th grade on-grade level courses. So beginning next year, in 7th and 8th grade, we're going to move to 3 on-grade level ELA sections. And we're going to eliminate that title of plus just in 7th and 8th grade ELA. Math will remain the same, and we'll go over that in a minute. So why was there ever even an honors plus level of 7th and 8th grade English? Well, the idea was that there's an accelerated pace, there's a lot of critical analysis, and really heavy text and deep text. And the biggest point to me is grouping students with similar readiness levels. If you have a huge school and you have enough students to truly populate an honors level class, that's okay. That can push students, that can meet their needs. But not every place is equipped to do that, and there are other ways to better meet the needs, to better address, is it best for kids? And I believe that we have a way to reach more of our kids in a more appropriate way. So why even consider this? Ms. Argenziano and I were approached by our 7th grade and 8th grade ELA teachers. They came and said, can we have a meeting? We don't believe that there's truly enough students to populate the plus level sections of 7th grade and 8th grade. There's about 5 to 6 students that in 7th grade, Mr. Leahy would recommend to 8th grade. Well, you're going to see that there are practical problems that come with that. So we met with everyone, we looked at the merits of what we could do and how we could meet everybody's needs. We agreed on the merits, and this is some of our collective concerns. So there's two things that can happen. You either have a section of 6 kids who truly will qualify through multiple measures of who would be in a section of honors, okay? You run it with the honors, pacing, the honors text, and everyone in that class has to live up to that honors mentality, that honors expectations. If you do that, we only have 3 sections of everything at Thomas Jefferson, right? 60 kids, basically. You have 25, 25, and 6. So even in a class of low 60s, this is what would be in gen ed sections because you do have students in pull-out resource, LLD, or MD. And this is a considerable class size imbalance. If you happen to be in ELA plus and math plus, so pre-algebra or algebra, there's only one science and social studies section that's left for you to be in. So it's so much rigidity in that schedule that the class sizes not only end up being imbalanced in one class, but in all 3. So let's just say that you can't run it like that, which is what we've been doing. I can't run a section of 6 kids because of this problem. So what happens is that this multiple measures, it's a sliding scale because we have to pick the next group of students that could possibly be in this class so we can balance class sizes. Well, there's a downside to that. If we're saying that we want to group students based on their readiness, that's a disservice to those students to put them in a class that goes at a pace with materials that are not appropriate for them. That creates a lot of negatives for those students. Stress, anxiety, possibly lower grades, and it's not necessarily the right thing for those students. And I'll tell you this from a human perspective, everybody knows who's in like the honors section, right? And so if you're struggling in that honors section and you really feel like, hey, it would be best for me to move to the on grade level section, well, everybody in this school is gonna know it. Not because we say anything, but because it's such a public move and people would know why. If you do this at Morris Hills, nobody knows, you just change your schedule. But that's why the visible nature of this does play in to the social and emotional aspect. We're addressing the whole child. You guys know that social and emotional well-being of students has never been more at the forefront. So that is a factor in this decision. And this really, touches on it. We're trying to prepare students for high school. We're trying to prepare students not only for the rigors of the academics, but the stresses of managing their schedule and their life and doing what is best, and appropriate for them. So you still would have this honors level, which has 2 different groups of readiness levels, which is not what a true honors level would be. So for me, the natural question would be, well, how do we make sure that we still reach those 5 or 6 kids that Mr. Leahy would have recommended to 8th grade? Well, what we do is we make sure that we are, first, I'm going to group those students together. That's going to make it easier for Ms. O'Brien to group them. The second block of an 86-minute, the second period of an 86-minute block is student-centered, it's student-created, and when students are meeting together, it's easier to take a text that's a harder text. So in 7th grade, maybe the honors level was reading The Giver. Well, now we could give that to those students, or we could give it to all the students, and instead of asking maybe X, Y, and Z, with Z being the application questions, that higher order thinking, that critical application, we're giving the baseline understanding to some, and we're giving different expectations to others. Differentiation must be happening in an 86-minute block, and differentiation is not new. I started teaching in 2005, and that's when I started to learn about, get professional development on differentiation. So when done well, we can take all the students in that class, despite different readiness levels. We can give different varied texts. We can give, they can lead a Socratic seminar. There's a whole host of different ways. We can change our teacher role. Sometimes we can do some sort of remedial support with one group and some sort of enrichment or extension with another. And it allows our professionals who are great teachers to exhibit all of their knowledge and to really help students and meet them where they are at. And I believe, along with the rest of, this is the differentiation varied text. We group students differently. Like I said, we could do it homogeneously with the top students together. That makes it easier sometimes to differentiate the materials. Or we could do it heterogeneously, where those students are teaching others and helping others and leading different questions. There's a whole host of different ways to do it well. But I do think that this meets everyone's needs the best. And our teachers agree, our administration agrees, our board committee, the curriculum committee so far agreed with that too. And I know that as well as a teacher herself kind of sees this as an English teacher. So how do we know if it actually worked? Well, it's going to take some time, but we want to really dig into it. So number one, we're going to look at benchmark assessments. Are there any changes to those? NJSLA scores. Now we know this is the first year of the adaptive testing, so we have to see kind of what that looks like. But we want to look at it over time to see if things are better, or if they're not, we need to again do what's best for kids and change. High school placement, performance, feedback. So our teachers go 3 times a year to meet with all of Morris Hill's supervisors, teachers, and those teachers from the other sending districts. So that's vertical articulation and horizontal with the other districts. And we'll get feedback from Morris Hills. We'll look at teacher and student feedback and other data points. So math is still going to remain pre-algebra and algebra. They're Morris Hills Regional School District prerequisites, and they are in pretty much every place. So, you know, a lot of people would say that it's a little bit easier to differentiate materials in English than in math, but there is a very substantial foundation that you absolutely need. You cannot skip in math. And if you don't have one, you can't go necessarily to the other. It still doesn't mean that we track there, because a student can go from on grade level in 7th grade to algebra. There's a few different algebraic concepts that are different, but students have done it before and they can do it moving forward. So again, what's not changing? Well, the standards aren't changing. The curriculum isn't changing. The rigor is actually, it's not only is it not changing, it's actually more appropriate for more students, because we're meeting them where they are at, instead of pushing them into a place that they're not ready for. And the math is not changing as well. So the key takeaways, I would say, like I mentioned, through multiple different professionals here and a deep dive into it, we really feel like this is the way to meet every student's needs. It will not change high school recommendations. If a student was going to be recommended for honors, they will still be recommended for honors. If it was CPA or CPB, this does not play a role in their preparedness or the recommendations for high school. So I think that's about it for the changes to TJ for the most part. Next year, maybe some other little minor things, lunch ordering. We're not going to do lunch ordering next year. We've run into a couple of issues where students will order things in the morning. They'll say, I want the pizza or whatever. And then by the time, say, a 4th grader, 7th period gets there, kids have changed their minds and there's not enough of that particular order. So Pomtonia did tell me that they have a lot of sales data that they can just use that. So it's going to be a little bit more efficient in 1st period, where the kids don't have to walk down their orders. And using the sales data that they have, they'll be able to provide enough lunches for everybody with what they want. So that seemed to work with our lunch staff. They agreed that it would be a good change, and our staff in general. So that's it. That's all I have.
It saves our staff a little bit of time in the morning, right?
It does. I did put something out to our staff to see how they would feel about it. I did receive numerous responses, all with yes, please do that. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will work on it. That's. That's just.
So the board reports, I actually have 4 different reports to ad hoc committees. The rec report real quick, registrations are all open for the Rockaway Rowdy Soccer, as well as the Denver Diamonds, which is a hockey program. So definitely register for those if your kids are interested. Technology report, just a few items that are going to be completed this summer. As people are probably seeing on the agenda, there will be new Chromebooks purchased, so they'll be set up. I think there's still discussions on kind of how those are going to be distributed, but nonetheless, that'll be a summer project. They're going to hardwire all smart boards for faster connection speed. Fix all the broken Chromebooks, put back the rooms together so they're ready for day 1 of school. Help with ESY, student accounts, completing SpiceWorks, the support ticketing system that we spoke about. I believe it was around January, February. That's going to start the upcoming year. The software that's replacing the Guardian will be pushed out. It's called Aristotle. And collaborated with Minds on a few projects that are happening during the summer, the network and installments, and recycling probably a lot of old hardware that's no longer able to be used or end of life. Probably once the new devices come in, they can figure that out. The 2 ad hoc committees, the first is the policy committee that Mrs. Hernandez and I were on. And before the meeting, I did ask Mr. Graff if we could have an ad hoc special ed committee, because I thought it was an important topic that needs to be addressed. So the policy committee, we did talk about a few policies. One of the major main policies that we talked about was the facilities use policy. The reality is it's just extremely outdated. So we're working on updating that policy to kind of make it way more detailed. Really no room for like interpretation. We're hoping, I think, for the August meeting to have the first reading of that policy, correct? Should be August. So obviously we'll keep everyone updated on that. The Special Education Ad Hoc Committee. The big conversation was whether or not the shared services agreement with Morris Hills is worth the value. I'll be honest, we will be agreeing to that probably for the next school year, just because the time of the year is just, it wouldn't benefit us to hire internal people this year. But we're going to really dig deep the district and the committee this summer to do a cost comparison based on the contract, figure out if it makes more sense for us to hire our own internal people for special ed services compared to sticking with the agreement. So obviously we'll keep everyone updated as we kind of progress and start making decisions on that. That's all really I have for policies.
So I have an update for Thomas Jefferson. So building and area update, all 2025-2026 school year fire and safety drills have been completed, logged and filed, both TJ and with the Board of Education office. Also, NJLS testing in May was very smooth. The results are anticipated within several weeks. A large number of students at TJ have been involved in a charity project led by Ms. Dobbs to collect soda can tops to donate to Sharon's charitable organization. 3 members of our organization came in on June 5th to present the students and show them the impact that the students' donations have made on the world. There's a photo. Is it a photo from the school too? Is this here? Okay, I think it's in. That's right. Graduation, 8th grade graduation, of course, is this Wednesday at 5 p.m. at Morris Hill High School. The 8th grade award ceremony was wonderful, which it was held last week, right? Friday. It was over 25 students who earned the award, and there were many genuine, heartfelt speeches to celebrate our students. HSA, I want to say thanks to the HSA. They did do little goodie bags for the students after the NJSLA testing. The kids enjoyed it. Of course, my daughter came home and was talking about the little bag, whatever they had in the bag. I didn't get to see what it was, but she said it was fun and it was great. So I want to say everyone appreciated, and the board does as well appreciate it. Also, HSA, we are in the works right now. HSA we're talking right now, nothing yet official, probably give an update coming soon in regards to fundraising with like 6th grade, 7th, and 8th grade. More information will be coming out. And I want to thank the HSA for everything that you do for the community. Thank you.
I would also like to thank the HSA for all the stuff that they do, especially at the end of the year. I think I see some of them more than I see my family, so thank you.
While we're on the way down, I'll give an update on the facilities report. There's some mulch work being done at Lincoln. It seems the favorite topic of snaking out sinks is still occurring. It seems to be a regular occurrence. Some inspections completed for the roof exhaust systems. At TJ, the big issue was the air handler for the gym. AC couldn't keep up. There's some repairs that need to happen. There's some quotes that need to happen for repairs. It's not that old of a, 2021 to me is not an old unit, it's part of the referendum. There's some issues with the switch and wiring, and there's some work being done on that. Minor updates and reports of repairs for the White House. Some sidewalk replacements are going to happen at the end of the month in places where there's trip hazards. A lot of planning work getting done for the summer, and then some miscellaneous concerns of note. Some of the window unit air conditioners can't keep up when the heat is excessive. Solutions for that would be buying bigger units, which would probably be costly. Rewiring, which probably is also costly. So one of the notes here would just be being creative about where the ESY classrooms take place for the units that can keep up. For committees, negotiations, we've met, I think, just about every week since the last board meeting, thereabouts, with positive progression. So hopefully some more updates on that by the next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so we switched out the curriculum committee meeting this month and instead had a strategic plan meeting. I'm happy to say that surveys will be sent out to staff, students, and parents before the end of the month. Dr. Greco, I think is what?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So parents, please look for those in your various school announcements, email, etc. And then we will take the summer and we will compile the data and be able to put something together for some sort of report in September is the goal. I anticipate getting some helpful feedback both in, I guess, solidifying things we're doing right and getting ideas as to things that we can improve on. The other ad hoc committee meeting that we had this month was the safety and security meeting. And it was spurred by a personal experience that I had in my classroom, and then I took it back here to make sure that our teachers didn't end up in a similar situation. So I had a student that was found with a weapon on his person in my classroom. Well, it was in his backpack, but still. And it was one of those things where I never thought that would happen to me in my classroom. And my mind started swirling with all these questions of, well, what should I have done, or you know, what would I do if that were to happen again in the future? And then my mind went to our teachers here in the borough and said, I need to make sure, as best I can, that they are prepared for all the what ifs. So we met with Officer Scott, and all I can say is, wow. We are so much more prepared here in our little borough than we were at, and I'll use my own school as a comparison, than I was. Officer Scott has thought about almost every possible scenario and has made allocations to do his best to ensure student and staff safety under all of those circumstances. And if you ask the kids about these preparations, they can tell you exactly what to do in each of these situations. To the extent of, there is a section of countertop in every classroom that remains free of debris or any clutter or any storage, so that in case of an emergency where students would have to exit through a window, they don't have to spend any time clearing stuff out of the way. These are things that I wouldn't have thought of. All of the police cars in the borough have access to our security cameras, so that if there is an emergency, they can best respond through the appropriate and I guess most effective means, through, you know, different doorways or entrances. I felt so much better, and Ms. Georgillas, I think, felt the same way. It was a relief to know that we have someone on staff who is, I'm going to say, an expert in this particular field. He also told us that he meets with every substitute, every interim teacher, every leave replacement teacher, to go over all of these same safety protocols. There is no one in our buildings that is unaware of what should take place in the case of an emergency. I hope and pray they are never needed. But I feel confident knowing that our teachers are not going to be blindsided by what ifs. So bravo to Officer Scott, 100%. We are so fortunate. I think we know that we are fortunate to have our Class 3 officers. But to have two that work so well together and that go to an extent that is way above and beyond for our kids. It goes, well, it's a huge thank you. So those were my committee reports.
All right, thank you. Before I start, I wanted to give out our kudos to our band and choir students for the High Notes Festival, along with Mr. Bova and Mr. Strapp. I was able to go as a chaperone. It was a really unique experience, not my crowd when I was in school. So it was very interesting to see that perspective, but they did very well. They scored excellent in both band and choir, so shout out to them. And then report from Lincoln School. Congratulations to the third graders for their hard work on the NJSLA. And then thank you to everyone who helped make Night of the Arts, Field Day, Preschool Family Fun Day, and the walking school bus such a positive experience for our students. We had 40 students join the walking school bus, and the bus was led by the principal of the day, who was a kindergarten student, and the officer of the day for the day, which is a second grade student, and they walked from the church over to Lincoln all together. My son, who walks to school every day, was like, that was so much fun. I was like, okay, well, you walk every day. But okay. End of the year parties are on the 17th, and then kindergarten celebration and the third grade clap out on the 18th. Lincoln families raised $3,800 for American Heart Association through Jump Rope for Heart. And then lastly, I want to sincerely thank Jen Scomiel for her years of service to the borough. She sent us a final note, which was very sweet and thoughtful. And I know that her work has made a lasting impact on our students and staff and families. And we wish her all the best. So the New Jersey School Boards, there was a technology conference this past month. And then my last update is Jam Theater wants to promote their summer programs. If you're interested in signing up your child for their summer camp opportunities, they have various options depending on the age, and that's registration closes on June 26th. So if you're interested, reach out to jamtheatercompany@gmail.com. Thank you.
I forgot one, I'm sorry. Mrs. Argenziano's curriculum and instruction report for the month. The NJSLA administration went very smoothly. Everything's been closed out. The necessary paperwork has been completed, has been submitted. They're having end of the year summative meetings with instructional staff to reflect on growth, instructional impact, and student outcomes, which is a really important part of teaching in general. I'm glad that there's a lot of emphasis on reflection here in the borough. Professional growth goals, easy for me to say, for the upcoming school year are being created based on teacher self-reflection and student performance data. End of the year surveys, not the same surveys as the strategic plan surveys. So a separate end of year survey were created and distributed to staff to collect feedback on instructional programs, platforms, and resource effectiveness. Usage reports and learning analytics from digital platforms were reviewed to assess impact and inform purchasing decisions for the upcoming school year, which I think is also very important to make sure that there aren't any redundancies and that all of our monies are being used in the most effective ways. Mrs. Argenziano is currently working on NJSLA state submissions, which includes student and staff course roster submissions, instructional software rollovers, roster uploads for all grades, review of Lincoln Form C data for ELA and math, which is our benchmark assessments, teacher and student schedules for next year, ordering and allocating materials and resources for each classroom, professional development planning for the upcoming year, and to close out mentoring programs and set up for next school year. So this is when a lot of her work starts ramping up in planning and preparation for the next school year. So there's going to be a lot of busy bees in the White House and in our other buildings the next couple of months to prepare for hopefully an outstanding school year. I'm not gonna say hopefully. To prepare for an outstanding school year next year, putting it out there.
Thank you. Dr. Crismano, Report Secretary, Business Office Report. Anything, do you want to just touch on the fact that just today we got a projection, very initial review. We haven't had a chance to dig into the Finance Committee, but initial review continues to be positive and very, I think, better than we could have hoped for. So that's good news, and we'll dig into that in Finance, and we'll come back next week with that. I don't know if you had anything else. I can just cover a good piece. Thank you. I'm not doing this now. Dr. Greco, I guess we can jump down to other comments for good of the order, but can you cover maybe, for everyone's benefit, the process that you went through for the recommendation of the principal?
So when our applications closed out, we had over 110 applicants for the Lincoln principal position. I believe it was 113, definitely over 110, so I could be off by 1 to 2. Because we probably had well more than double what we had 3 years ago when Ms. Goldman applied for the position and was recommended and hired by the board, we kind of felt like there needed to be another round. There were so many good applicants. I think I mentioned at a previous meeting, you had people aspiring to be an administrator that currently weren't. A lot of positions had cuts. A lot of districts had difficult situations going on. And there were probably some non-renewals in there that, you know, education's a small world, so you can find out a lot of information about people and why they're applying and get some, you know, get some input from other places and people. So we decided to have a screening round. I think we probably, when I say we, I probably mean mostly our administrative team, myself, Mr. Samuels, early on in the process, Ms. Skolmiel, and even in the early rounds was with us. I felt that was appropriate. There's been other situations that I've been a part of in the past, not too many, where it maybe wasn't appropriate to have the outgoing person in those early rounds or any rounds at all, but I thought it was appropriate. I thought there were a lot of things we wanted to carry on, but obviously we want a new person with new ideas, regardless of how positive the experience has been from the school. Ms. Argenziano, who's our Director of Curriculum Instruction as well, so I think we probably had 3 or 4 formal and informal meetings at the end of admin meetings within like a 2-week period where we were just kind of looking through these big piles and shifting things around from one folder to another. Kind of what you would do when you're trying to choose something. I think we narrowed it down to 16 or 17. I believe we ended up with 16 in that screening round. The screening round was 15 to 20 minutes. We kind of kept it on target. It was only 3 questions. So I think our prerequisite to even have us be part of the screening round was, you know, you had to kind of belong. And I think we really had no other choice because we wanted to move as quickly as possible while still being able to get a thorough look at every candidate. So that screening round whittled us down to 8. So that first round included myself, Ms. Gomiel, Mr. Samuels, Mr. Argenziano, and a teacher, who I don't know if it's a teacher at Lincoln, special ed. I don't know if I should or shouldn't say a name, but our attorney's not heard that, so I won't ask. Yeah, I think a teacher's fine. Yeah, I'll leave that for that. Who also had some ties to our association. So you know, again, we were trying to get a different perspective. The second round was 8. Those interviews were approximately 40 minutes, included, I'm actually looking at the notes here because I have every question. 12 questions, include some scenario questions. That was 8 people. The only thing we did was swap out the teacher for another staff member that has kind of a different role. So we tried to get a different lens. So it's still a certificated instructional staff member, but maybe not necessarily a teacher. So that person was with us in person. The first round of screening was done via Google Meet. This was done in person at the board office. In our conference room, which I think a lot of people here have been in that room before, right next to my office that I use. So that was 12 questions, 40 minutes. That narrowed us down to 4. And in that last round, we had the pleasure of having 2 board members with us who also are parents in the district. And we swapped out the teacher again for another staff member at Lincoln School from kind of like another different area. I will say, I'm sure Mr. Samuels will nod his head, I'm sure Ms. Hernandez and Mr. Graff will nod their head. It was a very difficult choice. I think everybody had strengths out of those last 4. I think I probably would have felt comfortable with any of them being able to fulfill the role. I think at that point, what you're really looking for is fit. You know, Mr. Samuels talked about it before, but what we're doing in BLA, I know it's totally different, but you're looking for what fits here, what fits at Rockaway Borough. Some people may be better off in a secondary school, middle school, high school. Some people may be better off in a supervisory role and just using, random scenarios. But I think we found the right fit, and she's sitting back there tonight, and hopefully that recommendation gets approved. But again, it was, in fairness to every person that was there, I think we really had a really strong group. I think I might have mentioned to you, Leon, that Mr. Samuels, that we've been a part of a lot of different things over the years in different districts. It was really, you really made it there. So kudos to the process. I think it was a good process. It was a little bit longer. That last round was, I think, 45. Same amount of questions, 12. Trying to not ask the same questions, but some of the questions end up being kind of the same, and it's good because you're getting different perspectives. And again, I think we did our best to try to find the right fit. And I think it's more so important in a small district to try your best to be right. Not that we want to be wrong in those decisions in any district, but when you have 13 or 15 administrators in a district, it's a little easier to be a little bit wrong. Here it's harder to be wrong. So I think we really made the right choice. Okay.
Thank you. And as we move into the review of agenda items, Ms. Hernandez reminded me, thank you, that there are a couple of resignations for the purposes of retirement. And we want to wish Ms. Marcy and Ms. Swanek well in their retirement, and thank you for all of their years of service to the district. And with that, let's go on to review the agenda items. There is a resolution to begin to put money back into the capital reserve account. We've talked about this a number of times over the last couple of years as part of the loan to ourselves from capital reserve. So there's a resolution to put at least something back in there now. There is a resolution. This is a resolution sent to us and encouraged from New Jersey school boards. A lot of other districts around are doing this as well, urging our elected representatives to take action on rising school employee health care costs, which drives a lot of things up. Yes.
I'd like to table $7 insurance services agreement ourselves for CFC services.
That's a motion.
Yeah, I think there's a few areas in the contract that we
So we need a motion. Mr. Doherty.
Mr. Doherty and Ms.
I heard this Dahl first.
Okay. Mr. Doherty.
And then is that a roll call or a voice vote?
Let's do a voice vote.
Voice vote? It just, is it just ayes? Is it, you want each person to
I'll
report?
go through each person. I'll go through each person. Mr. Doherty.
Yes.
Let's go Jones.
Yes, it's a motion to table.
Mr. Graff.
I abstain.
Ms. Dahl.
Yes.
4-1.
So O is tabled. Under, is that under finance? 7?
It's on the side.
No. 7? No?
It's page 9,
Yeah, but why?
under all under 7 finance.
Oh, it's 7. For July. So you have to table it for the next agenda. So Was that? Yeah, so you're tabling it for the July agenda.
I second
Tabling it for the July agenda, and everyone reaffirms their votes. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, one abstain.
Yes.
Can I just make a correction, a revision on the agenda? On page 6. Chromebooks, third, second paragraph down. Whereas the board has reviewed the proposal submitted through First American Equipment Financing for a 3-year lease purchase program for the technology equipment, after equipment, parentheses, New Jersey State Purchasing Contract Number 24-TELE, I had it written down, 72087, parentheses, MO 483- computer equipment, comma, peripherals and related services. So I'll just add that to that resolution after equipment and parentheses.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
And I think on this one, this is the general plan, the need for the Chromebooks, I get. The general plan for the rotation is something that's going to be taken into committee going forward. Sure, I think out of those 400, 100 are for staff and 300 are for students.
On the agenda, just because the timing of it does not look, could be a little bit delayed. Mr. Healy was originally recommended and approved to be the girls softball coach. Due to personal reasons, all good. He was not able to fulfill that role, so we filled it early with Mr. Headland. So we never rescinded the appointment of Mr. Healy. So we're just trying to clean up everything here. And we just put that on here to rescind that appointment. We did appoint Mr. Headland, so that's fine. We're just rescinding Mr. Healy, but from a few months ago.
Any other comments or questions? I think that's very much.
Okay, so page 11, letter R. We hired Lorraine Pleasure as a bus driver / transportation coordinator a few months ago. With Miss Morganland's retirement on or about November 1st, I'm recommending Lorraine Pleasure to be payroll benefits transportation coordinator. So we're kind of consolidating 2 positions back into one, like it was. And Ms. Pleasure has the transportation coordinator certification, which we've mentioned at previous meetings. So that's it.
Also an extension for Dr. Castano in his interim BA role. For another 6 months.
Just so everybody knows, Dr. Cusmano, we're looking to recommend him for another 6 months. That has to be approved by the county office. It was. before board approval. And then if there is board approval tonight, we send them back the fully executed contract and the certified extract of the board resolution. And just because I'm on that same page, we have Ms. Gallagher, who we discussed already. Happy to have her here tonight. We have 2 vacancy positions. Those are not new positions. The one is to fulfill a retirement that we just spoke about, and the other one is to fill a vacancy in ESL.
I'm sorry, I do have one question. Maybe just the formatting is different than I'm used to, but the tax levy and debt service payment schedule, is that something that's on there every year? Does it just look different to me?
It might look different to you only because this is the first district where it was formally on the agenda.
Okay.
Normally you have the A4F schedule, and that's what I supply the municipal clerk as well as the tax assessor. Everyone signs off, approves it, but this is specifically when, like usually I would just send a letter to the municipal clerk, but I guess here it does get board approved or however you want it done. And the payment dates are when it would be beneficial for us to get the funds.
Which is a slight change from what we got in the past, right?
Correct. Normally it would be the first of the month. The issue becomes in June when you're kind of like strapped for cash. Now, our financial position is very healthy right now, but our state aid payment does not come in June. It comes in July. And the thought behind that process is that the state may need the money to close their budget because their budget calendar runs like the school calendar at June 3rd. So we get our June state aid money on July, but we don't get it till like July 15th. So it would be better for the district, instead of getting that June money on the first of the month, to get it a little bit later. And you can see the schedule is coordinated with our July-June payment, if that makes sense.
Thank you. All right, and with that, I will open the floor to the first public comment session, which is on agenda items only. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments. We'll let you go uninterrupted. If there's any response after that, we'll do it after the 3 minutes. And all we need is your name and municipality. Please come up to the podium if you'd like to be recognized to speak.
Hi, Jacqueline Hamilton, Rockaway. My questions are for Mr. Samuel. So my daughter is just finishing first grade, so I'm really not familiar with TJ at all. My question is, so she's in the Gifted and Talented program now, and just as a first grader. So my question is, what does the continuity look like from Lincoln to TJ with that? Like, does that start in 4th grade? And is it like, are they retested to enter the program? But then I did appreciate your presentation. I myself am a teacher. So I see a lot of the things that you were saying, but I was curious, you mentioned like it's going to be evaluated to see if it's working with how you're changing it. What is the plan for the evaluation of it? How many years are you going to look at that data? And then also, I just think, I don't know, I just feel like gifted and talented to me is also special education, right? Like you're targeting special learners. And I don't love the idea of her being put in like a lower section. So if you could elaborate on that a little bit more, just because I feel like with our librarian and things like that, I feel like it's our higher learners that are always getting things taken away from them. So if you can continue to explain that a little bit, I would appreciate it. And then also the Gifted and Talented program, is it 1 time a week as well, the pullout, and it's like during that specials period?
It's sort of a study hall.
The study hall, so then would that make her not able to do the other pullouts?
Yes.
So she would have to choose like band or Gifted and Talented?
Yes.
No, so many of the band lessons happen
for school with full band.
Okay.
But Mr. Bova, who is taking over that program, there's only so many places where some of these workouts can happen.
Right.
So now having the study hall, before that it was all coming out of different special area classes, whether that's CID or media or what have you. So now there's a place for it. And what we try to do is our teachers work together to try to find, first that study hall, what works with their schedules, student schedules. Nothing is sort of perfect, but that is always, now it's giving us more options, at least, for them to be pulled out. It doesn't mean that they can do band, but it does mean that it might have to come out of something else. Maybe that's a CID class, maybe that's a media class. Creativity, innovation, and design, so basically our technology class.
If they do the art independent study and music independent study, they can't do GT2. You can't. Speaking from experience. So they do, if they're identified for the independent studies.
And then like, this is just my
Thank you.
personal, right?
Go ahead.
Okay,
Finish up.
this is just like my personal baggage as well, so I'm trying to balance as a teacher what I know works and my own personal experience, but for me, I was probably supposed to be in honors classes and I was not, and I felt like that always affected my learning. Like I was in class with kids who were falling asleep when I should have been challenged by my teachers, so that's just kind of like on a personal level where I'm coming from with my concern of it.
Thank you.
If I could just interject real quick.
Yes, thank you.
Coming from, as a parent of a kid who was on the cusp, he was the kid who was like just past the cutoff of a kid that would have been ideally in an honor program. We decided that it was not in his best interest to continue in the honors program. And every kid in the grade knew it. And I think, he might be mad at me for saying this publicly, but I think it impacted his self-esteem. And I think he felt maybe ashamed where he should not have. And I think that's one of the places that Mr. Samuel is coming from, making these decisions, and that we talk about the little district, little problems, right? Sometimes little district, big problems, but I think for us, this is one of those little problems that could become a big problem for a kid. I recognize everything that you're saying, and you're not wrong, but I think it comes down to what's best for the kids that's in his office. And I think knowing how Mrs. O'Brien can differentiate instruction so incredibly well, I don't think that any child that is at an honors level is going to have any less of the rigor or advancement or push.
So they're still slated for one specific teacher?
One specific, there's only Mrs. O'Brien.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So,
That lady in grade one.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sanders, I know you answered a couple of questions in real time. I appreciate it. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that with everything. I would say I know you're planning a communication. I believe I would take whatever is appropriate to sort of think about what folks might be asking and make sure that that's answered in what you're going to send as well.
Can I
Thank you.
say one thing?
Sure.
I think one of the questions you asked was like, were we gonna take a look at it to see
Right,
like what it looks like at the end?
Plan for evaluation.
Yeah, so these were some of the answers you gave me, because I asked the same question, and I wasn't necessarily for or against it in the beginning, but I am for it, I'm for it. But some of the things that you told me, Mr. Samuels, and we discussed was student growth data and benchmark performance, state assessment performance trends, classroom performance and writing growth, student engagement, teacher feedback, high school placement recommendations, freshman year performance in Morris Hills, and honors and accelerated course placements. So I just wanted to mention it, because you did tell me.
What the high school,
Yeah.
articulation is telling us too. Are they seeing any sort of difference? And I think what you're asking is what I would ask too, as a parent, I think it's totally logical. But my concern of what, the feedback that I'm seeing and I'm getting is that when students are pushed beyond their readiness level, if your child was one of the 5 or 6 that would truly be in there, but then we're pushing, 7, 8, 10 other kids in to balance classes, Miss O'Brien or Mr. Leahy, instead of being able to really spend more time with your child to push them and to really meet their needs, they're having to spend even more time with students that are not able to meet the pacing of that accelerated class. So when they're with the readiness level that's on the on-grade level, those teachers can then spend more time with the outliers, those students that are performing really, really well. So when we think about a teacher role, it's not just to meet with students that need remediation and help, it's also to meet with those students that are really excelling, and to be able to dedicate time and effort and energy and personalize what they're reading, what they're having to answer to them. So I think it will give, and our teachers agree, that it will actually give them more ability to meet with so I would group, let's say, the 5 or 6 students that Mr. Leahy is recommending to 8th grade. I'm gonna group them together so that Ms. O'Brien can dedicate that intentional time with those students. And I think that we'll actually be able to better meet their needs and the other students that we're being able to push into.
So that's the only grade level that's being affected is 8th grade?
7th and 8th.
Okay, so then for
So it wasn't existing.
our just different section?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And math remains unchanged.
Okay.
And G&T is a completely separate.
Separate.
Right.
thing, right?
Yeah.
All right, other agenda item comments?
Don't now.
Okay.
I'm Jillian Adele. I'm from Halsey.
Just municipality.
What do we get? Oh, sorry. Rockaway? Okay. Hi. So we want to just give some classes to the board. These are the 8th grade, yes, but one of the things we've been trying to do this year is really support our individual groups. 8th graders have their own field day, so they got Rams sunglasses to take with them to whether they're going to become Scarlets or Gold Eagles in the future. Case in point, how cool they are.
Somehow they're less cool now.
And then, I know we're a little early in the agenda. We're just going on vibes, though.
Yes, we're going on
We wanted
vibes.
to officially welcome you as a Ram.
Yeah.
So you picked out some t-shirts, and then we have,
A beanie for when it gets cold.
and it does.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not looking from a different, you guys. Your lanyards, some like for yourself.
Chip set. And I don't know if
It's
it's
still it's a youth one, 50 the kid.
Oh, and then obviously book bag, so. Welcome, and we're so happy to have you, and we are the HSA, and we are here to help, and
There's 3 other board members.
Yes.
You will know us. It's a very small district where we annoy everyone.
yeah, but it
From Bob.
with love,
With love.
and money and ideas.
And money and ideas.
So, thank you,
We're
Mama,
doers.
and
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, for agenda only comments, there will be another comment session. All right, seeing none, I'll close the floor, and we will move on to the consent agenda minus 7O, since that has been taken. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? Mr. Doherty?
I need to abstain from 8, AA, SMC.
Mr. Gillis. Mr. Graff.
I need to abstain on 7H and yes on the rest.
Ms. Dahl.
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez.
Yes to all.
All right.
All passed.
Thank you.
You're stuck with us now. Congratulations.
Congratulations. New business, other items for the order before we move on to the second public hearing? All right, that takes us to the second public comment session. Same guidelines apply. State your name and municipality. 3 minutes. We're going to do our very best not to interrupt and give you the full 3 minutes. And yes. Hi.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Hook from Rockaway. I don't have any children in the school system, so I don't have a lot of experience with all this, but quite a while ago, I was asked to come and tape here. So that's why I've been present, and I got interested in a couple of things that were going on in Oregon. One thing I'd like to thank you is for having Mr. Borough now do the taping. He's doing an excellent job, and I really don't have to be here now. But I do have some interest down the line. One thing I would like a little clarification on, like today, I did not know the meeting was canceled until early this morning that I found out by accident. So I was wondering if there is any type of notification, maybe just to residents or just the ones who want to be notified, if maybe there was a change meeting, because I would have never known, I would have never looked until the day of or whatever. So if that could be done, I would be grateful for that. And maybe certain emergency things or, you know, different things that residents, I mean, I live very close to the school and it would be nice to know certain things are going on. I have kids walking by my house all the time, so if there was an emergency here, it would be nice. I know I'd probably hear from the police or different things, but maybe another phone list or, not phone, email, text, or I don't know how you really notify everybody. I understand it is email and the sign out front, right? I stay away from the school during school time. The traffic, I mean, so I wouldn't be one to see the sign. And even if I'm driving by, like, I think that's more for people that are walking or whatever, you're not gonna catch all of that. So maybe if you could just look into that and maybe see if you can let me know what you could do and, you know, I don't think the whole town would be interested, but maybe some or at request or, you know.
Makes sense. I'll speak to them because I know occasionally we'll send out, I don't know if it's still called Nixle, the Nixle works.
They do that for emergency.
Okay, I still get those.
Yeah, and I get them too. I guess I'm more concerned
But
with
maybe I can get them,
changes.
but maybe I can get them to post that, because I know sometimes I'll post.
Oh, they
There's
can
an
post the
accident on
meeting
46,
changes?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll occasionally
okay.
post something that they send
Okay.
out, but
Okay.
because we only have the addresses of our parents and families that are part of our contacts. So
Right.
I would have to, and now the notice has changed where it's on the website, which I'll send you, just so, not that I want you to have to look every day. But now, instead of having to advertise in the paper, like 6 months ago, we would have to advertise in the paper for a meeting change. We've done it before. Now, there's just a centralized database that the state started. What date was that? That they started? April? It was very recently that I told you we didn't have to, I think it was for the budget year, we didn't have to, it's just now like a database where it goes to our website and shows those rates are meeting those dates. But
Okay.
there's no way for me to know if something has changed.
All right, maybe think about it
Yeah.
and we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Again, I appreciate
That's
that.
good.
Okay. All right, great, thank you very
Yeah,
much.
You got it.
Other public comments?
Yeah, related Rockaway. So I guess my comment is a little bit more for Mr. Samuels about the way you're, gonna be changing the honors. I know that I interjected when Jacqueline was saying something, because, you're talking about these, study halls as a time to possibly use the gifted and talented, or the art, like the independent studies. So I have a kid that I was looking forward to being able to be in a more rigorous program in 7th grade, because I have been feeling like he's not being challenged enough, and he gets identified for music independent study, art independent study. He was identified for gifted and talented, but he doesn't have any skills, like he can't do them all. So, like he's probably in that smaller percentage of kids that kind of would benefit from a program like that, and you're taking it away. So, but like, what is the solution for? I understand it's like a small percentage of kids that fits into that, and I don't think that it's appropriate to have a class of 6 kids. I agree, and I understand you don't want to have like a whole classroom with kids being pushed, beyond their means. But, I have one kid that probably needs more help, and another kid that needs like to be pushed more, and I kind of feel like neither of them are really getting what they need. So, I've already been worried about my kid going into TJ without enough like pull-out resource. Like we don't really have much of that for her coming in, and then now I have another kid who I have been looking for. He's gotten high honors like all year, and I have been looking forward to him having like a stronger program that isn't going to be there apparently. So one thing I was wondering is where you have like a co-teaching classroom for providing special ed services, is that a possibility for the classroom where you're having the kids that are, like performing higher? Is there like a possibility of like a contractor or so, like maybe Ms. Selikoff, who does gifted and talented, like where like they could push in to that class specifically to provide more rigor, I guess, because they're still fairly big classes. Like they have to do behavior management. It is middle school, so it's a lot for a teacher, like large classes and everything. So then those kids could get more, like the more help. Like I really don't know how ELA is conducted or math. I'm not saying that I know how to teach or anything, but like I am a little sad that that's going away, because I'm already worried on the other end too. So because like I have been wondering, like why can't we hire a contractor to provide more pull-out resource services, because those were some eliminated positions in the cuts last year. So I've already been wondering that, like, we need to be supporting kids that need more support, more one-on-one instruction, but like, for that small percentage of kids that, like nerd alert, I was a kid that was in honors classes all through middle school and into high school, and I feel like honors classes, and I was with kind of the same group, but those really did prepare me for high school and for going into like the higher, like the things that we did in middle school in ELA, things like that, were definitely not what was happening in the regular ed classes. So, like I have a little bit of familiarity with it. It did teach me a lot about how to work, at like a higher level that, brought me forward into high school. So, and we are a small district, but like, I do want that for the kids that can handle it, because I know that those things we need to be practicing them. So, that's how they practice how to work at that harder level. So those are things I guess I'm thinking about.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Mr. Sanders, I don't know that, I think some of those topics I would assume you probably can't address tonight, but again, maybe, I mean, if you do have some examples of what preserving that rigor looks like, certainly if you could include that in the communication, because I think that was a lot of, what the common questions were. Like, what does that really look like if it's preserved? Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to needs of special education students, our pull-out resource, usually talking about that sort of end of it, remains unchanged. So we still have one math and one ELA pull-out resource section for each of the 5 grades at TJ. We also interventionists, but not pull-out resource. Those offerings still remain exactly the same. And so any student where their IEP team determines that their placement should be pull-out resource, we can.
But the interventionists are for the kids that are in MTSS, right? Like the kids that are being
So
monitored,
then
that's what we
it's-
lost.
Right.
Yeah, so okay, I understand like you have to provide for the IEP kids, but, you know, again, for these kids that fall into this like little well in between, you know, where they're not, you know, low enough to qualify for an IEP, but still need the support, that's what we eliminated, especially for 4th and 5th grade, so that's what I'm worried about, so
Okay.
so
Yes.
yes, worried about that on the one end, and then the other end too,
So we do have Ms. Marsh in TJ, she does split her time now, 2 out of every 6 days, she's on a 6-day rotation, she does work with our 4th and 5th graders for reading intervention. And then, again,
But for math,
we don't have.
yes, okay, that's, yes, just, I wanted to establish that, but we don't have that for math, we don't have it for math, so, yeah.
And then when it comes to rigor that, you know, Mr. Graff was talking about, and I think is a very logical concern, I think what we're taking away is the main plus. We're taking away a title, but the reality is that if it's one of the 5 or 6 kids that was gonna be recommended, they'll still be together. They'll still be surrounded by that sort of, you know, readiness level, mentality, drive. But I believe that teachers will be able to dedicate their time appropriately to give every student what they need, and I believe actually more appropriately, because you won't have, you know, a significant number of students that are trying to meet a pacing and curriculum that don't match with their readiness level. So you'll have more students in a class that, you know, are where they are supposed to be, and that teacher can then truly dedicate their time and allocate their time appropriately and more equitably.
But they don't have like a different curriculum, because that's what I remember, is there was a different curriculum for like an honors track.
So
Like it was,
in honors track,
you
you
know, they're
have.
reading more advanced literature, so. like, how-
Right, but in those groupings, that teacher can bring those different level texts to those students, but also beyond the text, which is a very important part of it, the expectations, the types of questions, the types of applications, so reaching higher levels of Bloom's revised taxonomy or Webb's depth of knowledge, beyond the baseline understanding of those concepts of the novels, the application and synthesis of those concepts. I actually think that we will, and you know, all the educational staff members here agree that they'll actually be able to reach students like your children even more.
Mr. Samuels, maybe, I don't know if this is appropriate to send out to everyone, I don't know who all is gonna get a communication about this or at what level it's gonna get communicated. Would an example, like a few bullet points of what a typical lesson would look like, what that second period would look like? For somebody who's not in education,
Absolutely.
like what does that differentiation look like? Is it just, here's a different book for the next 43 minutes, very obvious, or is it more nuanced than that and put
I
together?
had a slide on it and I deleted it because I thought I'd get too much in the weeds with, you know, like the details.
But if you could have that prepared, you don't have to answer it tonight, but I think if you could have that ready.
No, this one's on Canva, it's very fancy.
Yeah. I think if you could have it prepared as some sort of FAQ or some way to communicate that, I think it would help for folks who, I've never been in a classroom to teach. I understand the concept of differentiation, but not what it might actually look like, right? So, thank you. Thank you.
And I'll just add one thing, I think we also, you mentioned it, like, and I know you know it, the 86 minutes. I mean, that block of time, even if we can compare it to the other settings in district, we I think up there with the time, more
Yeah.
so, we have more time than all of the other setting districts that go more so I think we really, you know, focused on how do we use that additional time compared to, and I think there are ways that's like.
Yeah, if you compare it to, let's say, just for example, Denville, they'll have 86 minutes or so, an hour and a half, 90 minutes of ELA one day, 45 of math, and then it flips. So we're getting almost 90 every single day for both ELA and math. So we do have the time where students and teachers can meet and we can reach every student and group at their level. So we're fortunate to have that time to be able to do that student-centered second half every day.
Thank you. Other public comment? Seeing none, I will close the floor to public comments. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is going to be on Tuesday, July 28th, 2026. The public portion of the meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. in the cafeteria at Thomas Jefferson Middle School. We will enter exec to talk about a contract matter for 20 minutes. We won't do anything less than 20 minutes. The nature of which will be made public only when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. No action will be taken after we come out of exec. Is there a motion to enter exec? I heard Mr. Thorne first. And Ms. Dahl. Voice vote, aye. Thank you, folks. We will enter exec. Have a good night. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you.